वर्षाता है। आनंद मगन आत्म पंछी, आनंद मगन आत्म पंछी अंबर में कहीं खो जाता है। भगवान तुम्हारा ज्ञान सिमर कर अब तक न पढ़ा न लिखा गया है किताबों में। भगवान पढ़ाएंगे सम्मुख, सोचा ना देखा ख्वाबों में। प्रभु मिलन का ये प्यारा अनुभव, प्रभु मिलन का ये प्यारा अनुभव शब्दों में कहा नहीं जाता है। भगवान तुम्हारा ज्ञान सिमर कर।
Om Shanti. So, yes. Warm welcome to everyone and a warm welcome to Sister Jayanti. And we are so lucky she is here with us in our midst. And down in Shantifan, I think maybe 20,000 Bharatvasis, and here she is with us, the double foreigners, so very special. And I think Sister Jayanti is 55 years with Baba. And like I read directly born to Father Brahma, so very special. And I like to read something from Bab Dada, because he can best introduce our dear sister. And he says about you, you are lucky and lovely from birth anyway. Your birth has also been true luck. Wherever you go, that place becomes lucky. What gift do you give wherever you go? You go and share the fortune that you have received from the bestower of fortune. Do you know with which vision everyone sees you? You are a star of fortune. Wherever a star is sparkling, there is splendor there. You do experience, do you not? It is the steps of the child and the father's help. You are following the father, and you have also followed your companion very well. Dadijenki, you are running a very good race of becoming equal. So today, the gentleman is speaking to us on the topic from knowledge to love. So, Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Coming to Madhuban is always a joy, and Madhuban includes all the different complexes, of course. When I first read the topic, knowledge to love, I took just a moment to pause and reflect on it. And what came to my mind very powerfully was a definition that I'd read about perfection, and a very simple definition, and it was the embodiment of love and the embodiment of happiness. And if you see the images that we have around us in Bhakti, whether it's the statues of the deities you see the love and you see their joy. But even if you see an image of the Buddha, very often you see the laughing Buddha, and you see eyes filled with compassion and love. And of course, when you look at Brahma Baba, again, what do you see? You see the combination of both of these qualities in that particular soul. And most of you have had the chance of being with the dadis, one dadi or two dadi or even three dadis or even more. Who has never met anyone except Dadi Ratan Mohini? Who has met some of the other dadis? Okay, you're a bit reluctant, it's a bit cold, you don't want to raise your hands. So let me ask the other question. Who did not get to meet any of the dadis except Dadi Ratan Mohini? Who did not meet? Okay, yeah. So the vast majority have had that experience of the dadis. And those who didn't meet the dadis personally, the beauty of today's world is that you can catch all the murlis that Dadi Kumarka spoke, and truly she made us dance as she read the murli. And all of you, I'm sure, would have heard some of the classes by Dadi Jayanti on recordings and videos. So Dadi Gulzar, of course, Avyakt Bap Dada's face must be the most photographed face on the planet. More so than film stars and pop stars and football stars, I think. Because the huge Brahmin family and every single center has photographs of Bap Dada. And yes, there's a little bit of difference between a photograph of Dadi Gulzar and Bap Dada, but not so much. The only way I can tell sometimes is when there's a big badge. And when it was Bap Dada, then they would put this big, really big badge on Baba. So, but most of the time you can't tell the difference between when Baba is there or Baba's not there. Why? Because the drishti, the love and the joy were always present. The lips were always smiling and the eyes were always resonating with compassion and love, both qualities. And so what I gather from that little recollection of just that one sentence of what perfection actually comes up as in practical life is that when you start your journey, you start with knowledge, but then you get to the point where knowledge has taken on the form of love and happiness. I'm joining happiness on because I think both things are very much together, not just the love, but also the happiness. And I can judge how close I am or not to my own destination of perfection, not through the measure of how much gyan I have, but how close am I to being the embodiment of love and the embodiment of happiness. These two qualities will show me how far I still have to go or how close I am to my destination. But also, in interaction with others, it'll be these two qualities that will come shining through. And if I take up just a few aspects of how we can see that journey, say for example, I know about the power of tolerance. I understand the need for it. I understand what I should be doing to develop it. And I have the full knowledge. If I'm asked to give a workshop, I'm sure generally everybody sitting here could produce a workshop for others to follow very quickly with the power of tolerance. You heard many classes on the same topic, so there's a lot of knowledge we have about the power of tolerance. But as you begin to actually develop it, then the tolerance doesn't manifest just as tolerance, but it manifests as pure love, in which you're able to support another, not just tolerate them and their weaknesses and grit your teeth and say, well, I suppose I have to live with them. But no, you've used that knowledge of tolerance and you've been able to go into the depth of it, and you've been able to open up your heart and understand the specialities of the other, and you've been able to accept them. And so, on the one side, you've been developing your capacity for tolerance and increasing it, but by the time you've gone on that journey with deeper and deeper practice, so between knowledge and being the embodiment, the big word that comes in the middle is practice. And so I practice what it means to have tolerance. And as the outcome of all of that, attention over a period of time, and it doesn't happen overnight. Today Baba said, yoga takes time, and so the journey of pilgrimage is not a quick one. It can be, but generally speaking, it's taken time. But of course, those souls who come now, those who've already come to Madhvan, no problem, you've had a good amount of time. But Mama, you know how long it took Mama to become Mama? 18 months. And so I think that most of you who are here are in Gyan for 18 months at least. Maybe one or two, a bit less than that. But generally, maybe 18 years, but certainly more than 18 months. So over a period of time, you gradually develop this capacity to be able to have a big heart, to accept others and to say, yes, it's okay, it's fine. And when you get to the point where you don't even notice their weaknesses or defects, you know that everybody's on a journey. I know I'm on a journey, so I'm not perfect yet. So I don't expect anyone else in the physical dimension to be perfect either, because you're not. And so knowing that, but you're not touched in any way by their weakness at all. Your eyes focus on Baba, and Baba makes you see the specialities of the other. And not just in one case, but in many, many different cases. But the point is that all you see then is the goodness of the soul. Baba's been emphasizing this aspect about being the soul, seeing the shining star. And so when I see the soul, and I feel that kinship, that connection with the other, and I see their specialities and not their faults and weaknesses, then in that awareness there's nothing but the pure love of brotherhood. Truly, truly, just seeing them with the same vision that Baba sees them. One of the most beautiful things that used to happen with Avyakt Bapdada actually coming on earth, and especially in the early days through till I think 89, 90, something like that. Many of us had the opportunity of not just taking drishti from Baba, but also having personal meetings with Baba, or group-wise meetings with Baba, groups from different countries or different regions sometimes. And what would be beautiful would be to see how when Baba gave drishti to a soul, the person would begin to smile, and their face would become very soft and gentle. Baba's drishti, of course, was very pure, very loving, very powerful. Love and power together is a fantastic combination, and we would see it demonstrated by Avyakt Bapdada, not just through the Murli, but also through the drishti. But also, we would hear Baba's capacity for love when Baba would spend time with an individual. A few times Baba would mention something, the person's face was still wooden, it wasn't moving. And Baba would spend a few more minutes and a few more minutes, and Baba wouldn't let go until the person started smiling, literally. And so watching that sort of interaction of God and his children, who were very little babies at that time, just beginning to develop and blossom and grow, was a very beautiful experience. And so the embodiment of love, the ocean of love, able to bring a smile to a soul who is maybe confused, maybe questioning, maybe just lost, not sure where to go, how to go, what to do. But Baba would turn it around so that then their faces also would reflect love and joy, both together, literally. And so you've seen it demonstrated from the very top. And I'm sure there must be many videos in which you just keep looking at Baba's face. You're getting the translation anyway, but you don't need to write anything down. You don't need to be looking down. Just look at Baba. Keep looking at Baba. And you'll see how Baba demonstrates the love, the authority, but also the joy. And so at the end of Sangam Yug, and Baba often reminds us now, not just at the very end, but this last chapter is anyway started. And so right from now, can I implement the things that I know about? I know a lot, and I'm continuing to learn a lot all the time. But what is the practical, visible proof of my dharana, of my application of those ideas into my life? So that's one example of tolerance. But if you think about each one of the different subjects, you'll see how absolutely it fits in with this idea of moving from just theory into practice. And so the theory is the knowledge, and the practice is your visible proof, the practical proof of being a child of God. And what are the qualities of a child of God to be able to demonstrate that? Sometimes, if you're just sitting somewhere and you remind yourself, but I'm a soul, immediately you can feel it's as if that reminder to the self has switched the light on and your face changes. You don't see it, you're not looking at a mirror at that point, but others have seen it and they tell you, what were you thinking of when you were sitting there? Your face looked so sweet, your face looked so beautiful. And they're not talking about physical beauty, they're talking about something of the inner spirit, but they'll definitely comment on that. And all that's happened is that you came back to the awareness of soul, and with that awareness you connected with Shiv Baba or with Bap Dada, whichever. And through that then, others were able to see a big transformation. The transformation was happening inside, but it became visible through your face outside. Have you ever seen photographs of yourself in front of Avyakt Bap Dada? Who has seen photos of themselves in front of Avyakt Bap Dada? One? I don't believe it. Must be more. Radha, no photos? Yes. Others? Yes. Paul? If you look at those photos, of course, Baba's loving drishti is beautiful. But look at how you look. And you'll see that it's a different you that's in the photo to the normal, mundane BKU. It's your angelic form that's shining, because that's what Baba has made emerge. Baba's presence, Baba's pull, creates that highest consciousness in us. And so that then makes the face radiate that light. So the more knowledge I have the more understanding I have of myself. How well do I know myself? I reckon by now I know myself pretty well, but I could maybe get surprised and discover that there are still old spots that should have been removed a long time ago, but they haven't gone as yet. They may be not as sharp and clear, maybe they're a little bit duller, but definitely they're still there. And so from the very first moment we come to Baba, and Baba tells us about Atma. Who are you, child? And from that moment onwards, if I just simply practice this awareness of being the soul, your face softens and you're feeling Baba's love, and your face is beginning to radiate that love. Except maybe it's taken you 5 minutes, 7 minutes to get there. And the time that you had for meditation has gone. You had 10 minutes and 7 minutes have gone just coming back to that higher consciousness. But if instead of that, if over the past hour, while you were engaged in preparing breakfast or doing other aspects of karma yoga, if during that space of time, when that finished and now you're here, were you able to spend time looking at yourself and seeing to what extent your present condition is compared to the future, or the other way also? Because the other way is also very beautiful. Look at a photograph of yourself from before Gyan and look at yourself today, and definitely there'll be a huge, huge transformation that has happened. Not visible yet to other people maybe, but definitely it's there, definitely there. And so from the first moment of Gyan, there's transformation that begins to happen. Because nobody jumps from here to there. There's a ladder or a lift. Sometimes from time to time we get a lift, but sometimes we're not always able to operate the lift, and so we are somewhere here. But whatever it is, just look back and see where you were at pre-Gyan and where you are at today. And you will be able to see a huge contrast. Really, really huge. And so Baba is already working on me from the very first moment I recognized Baba. Baba recognized me a long time ago, but from the moment I recognized Baba, from that moment transformation began. And the hope is that by the end of the Kalpa, that task of transformation will have been complete, and I will be visible in my own new deity stage, and others will be able to see this and appreciate it, and it'll bring them closer to God. So, any aspect of knowledge, especially knowing the self. Now, to change that from just knowledge to love, yes, it's a journey, but first and foremost, it's a journey inwards in which I begin the journey of loving myself. You know, there's this biblical expression, the commandments, love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. And we don't see many neighbors loving each other anymore. Countries or regions or even individuals. It somehow creates a lot of tension, friction between one neighbor and the next neighbor. Whatever it is you do, it just will, there'll be something that's out of line with what they want. And so, but this idea that let me love others as I would love myself. Now, how much do I love myself? Our inferiority complex is, generally speaking, bigger than our superiority complex. I know ego sometimes jumps in, but generally speaking, it's the inferior stage that we go through. And here is Baba telling me, but child, you are the image of who I am. You are the reflection of who I am. And all the traditions speak about this. Within Hinduism, where they say God is present in everything, everyone, then they define it in different ways. But they would always say that, yes, the deities are the creation of God, and so they want to call all the deities gods and goddesses. It's something that's still going on today in Bharat. And yes, it's true that we were created in the image of God. When I started my spiritual journey and I knew that I was a soul, how did Baba see me? Baba saw me in my perfect form. Can I hold that vision of my own perfect form also? What I'm seeing is that service has been going on in some countries 50 years plus by now, but yet we haven't been able to reach out to a big gathering in the way that still some gurus and organizations are able to reach out, because it seems to be we're catering for the Brahmins to find people who will accept all the knowledge and start following all the disciplines. And those of you who are teachers know, to bring a student to the point of coming for morning class, easy? Not so easy. They'll maybe say, yes, we love the Murali and we'd like to come for evening class. What's the timing for the evening class? And then rather than have them just scatter, we will say to them, that's fine. Yeah, come for evening class, and then give them the details, etc. But my point that as soon as somebody comes to Baba, the transformation journey begins. And early days, it used to happen very fast. Baba spoke about it the other day. The dadis saw Baba, and that was it. And the flame, the moths died into the flame and gave up their whole identity of I and mine. It happened instantly. They gave up so much in terms of their Lokik lives. Really, you won't imagine. But they did it like this, just simply because they could feel the power of love emanating from this human being. But to get to that stage where truly, not only do I feel God's love, but I feel how God's love has transformed me and has made me an image as He is. And can I hold that vision of myself all the time? Well, okay, never mind all the time. 18 hours a day? Our waking hours? I love the image. And I love the fact that Baba's told me that you're going to become a deity. But can I hold that awareness that this is who I am the whole day? And love to go back to this again and again. Baba would have just soup in the evenings, and the soup would arrive piping hot, because in the cold weather you need something hot. And minutes would go by, and Lachudadi would finally say, Baba, the soup's got cold, let me take it away and heat it up again. And Baba would say, no, child, it's fine, and then would take it. So Baba would be lost in love, God's love. And because of that, then time would just be slipping past and Baba wouldn't even know how long he'd be sitting there. And so what's my stage like? Is my stage such that knowledge of who I truly am, who I used to be, and who I will be again, is now emerged so absolutely powerfully here that those qualities now shine through in my own behavior. Why is it that they say that, a dog begins to look like its master, or maybe the master begins to look like the dog? That also has been stated. What it's meaning is that who I am, what I am, gets transmitted to the one I love, and it changes them. It changes their features. So either dog and man, or man and dog, whichever way. But it's a fact. And so if the one I love is Baba, it's God, and I'm focused on God, God's love pulls me to the point where I want to be with Baba as much as possible whenever I can. Then the soul begins to adopt the qualities of God, and the only feature about God is that God is a point of light, and the light radiates out like an oval image, that's it. So there's nothing else in terms of characteristics or character. And for me, when I think about the deities, are they very far away? Who are these people? Well, they belong to a different religion. Nothing to do with me. I don't need to think about them. If this is the train of thought in my head, how am I going to become like them? But if in my mind's eye, as I hear Baba's Murli, I'm also seeing how Baba's saying that the old has to finish and the new has to begin. Baba's not giving an option or a choice. Baba's saying this is what will be. Full stop. But that stage in which really there's only one and none but one, so I'm able to allow that to shine. It's visible from my eyes and from my face, so God becomes truly omnipresent. People begin to see God in everyone, in everything, at all times, whatever time they call. And so your face radiating God's light and God's love. And that's it. You've achieved what service Baba has in mind. Because what service Baba has in mind is not that you give the course to somebody or you gave a lecture to somebody, not even if it's 100 lectures. That's something else completely different. But that stage of where I am today and my behavior is a beautiful reflection of what it is that was in the house itself. But now it's free, and so it can travel everywhere. And it would be the image of Radhe or Lakshmi or even just Mama's face. People would say that when they saw Mama, that we don't have to believe in Satyug and the deities. We can see that this woman is reflecting the qualities of God. Why do you think Mama became number 2 instead of number 10 or 101 or whatever else? No, she became number 2 immediately after Brahma Baba and worshipped with him equally. But still, Krishna has a bit of an edge on that. Mama simply practiced what Baba was saying in the Murli. No other secret tuition. You know, if a teacher has a student with whom they're particularly attached, then they're willing to give extra time to that student. And whether it's legal or not is another matter. But today, if I love Baba and I spend time with Baba, Baba is actually working on me to make me become like he is. And so I can develop that awareness and understanding and just literally demonstrate those qualities. But out of all the qualities of the deities, the love and the joy. And so to carry others on that journey so that they forget the tower of sorrow that Kali Yuga is all about. They're experiencing it, but they don't have the vocabulary and the understanding of putting it into a context. And Baba's children, we understand the whole story of humanity from the beginning to the end. But also, we know, Baba knows what it is we need to make us very strong and nourish us. Just like a mother would know intuitively, what does my child need? And she's able to give that to the child. The child can't speak yet, but the mother knows and so takes care of what is needed. And so on my own spiritual journey, am I at the stage where I say, okay, I understand what I need to do? Because I might not even be there. I might still be at the point where I have the theory, and then something is happening, and somebody says to me, drama, and even that gets me angry. Oh, stop saying that. Of what use is that? But the more deeply I understand drama, the more stable I can be, the more I can maintain my inner joy. And so yes, just simply doing one thing that Baba asks me to do, and I become what Baba wants me to be. And so whatever it is I'm doing, let me just understand deeply and then practice, 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 and I'll be the embodiment of that. So drama, to what extent am I not just understanding drama? Today's Murli spoke a lot about it. But I'm actually able to be the one who's watching the drama as an observer, and so my quality of love isn't going up and down, but it's stable. I'm able to give each and every soul that love and just simply know that they're God's children. No change, no difference. So this idea of moving from knowledge into the dharana of that at all times, and from the application of that dharana, the final step, it's love and joy. What were the last Murlis that Baba spoke when he came in the Avyakt form? Short Murlis, very short, but it was so often about love, or purity, or happiness. These three topics Baba kept coming back to. And a lot of the time was drishti. Baba didn't speak a lot. Baba had already gone beyond words, and it was just this much talk. And it was about these three qualities, usually. That was it. Dadi Janki, in her last year or two, she didn't give long classes anymore. She would give loving drishti to everyone she met, and when she would conduct a class, after 5 minutes, 7 minutes, she'd say, okay, who can sing? Sing a song. Or they'd start playing some music, and you'd say, okay, let's dance. And she was in her wheelchair, but her feet were tapping. And she would have everybody else come up and dance. So really, we've had a huge amount of knowledge. the ocean has been really drunk by the sparrows to the point where it became dry. It's an expression that Baba uses in the Sakar Murlis. Baba says that just simply keep taking the knowledge and imbibing it, and the ocean will become you. You will be the ocean. You will have absorbed the ocean so much that the ocean will become dry and it'll be time for silence. And of course we all thought that it meant that would be the end and we'd all go home. But it hasn't meant that. It's meant that Baba's waiting for us before he goes home. But definitely the role in Sakar is over. But all the teachings are here for us to follow and to practice. Another example of from knowledge to love. Baba. How deeply do I know Baba? Do I have false expectations of what Baba can do? Or am I really, really aware so that I'm able to dance with Baba, understanding that everything that's happening has a significance. It might not be what I had expected, it might not be what I had wanted, but it's really right. It's what Baba wants also. And so can I align myself with God so deeply that my love for God and my ability to take God's love and fill myself with that is unbroken, unshaken. That means instead of just knowing who God is, I'm experiencing who God is, and I'm seeing the impact of that in my life, so that then there's only Baba and there's only love and nothing except that. So knowing myself, moving from knowledge to love, knowing God, and moving from knowing God to loving God continually. The drama. Let's look at the philosophy of karma and how my knowledge and understanding of karmic philosophy can also move me to the point where there's only love and joy. I understand what is good karma. Okay. But then there was a very interesting Murli in which Baba said, some children think that they're creating good karma, but in fact, that's not the case. And the reason that Baba gave, who remembers that? It was a very lovely Murli. And this particular passage in which Baba spoke about good karma, but the child thinks that my karmic account is quite full in terms of good karma, but in fact it's not really. And Baba gave the reason, one reason, I. When I has come into the picture, instead of thinking of it as God's task and myself as God's instrument, the I, the ego, has come in. And so instead of doing things just simply out of love for Baba, I want recognition, I want praise, I want acknowledgement, and I want somebody to then say how great that was, some form of return at this moment in which I am in the picture in a prominent way. And if I've just simply done it out of love, then there's no I there at all. And so I've done good karma, but I've done it out of love for Baba. And I'm receiving Baba's love as a result. And there's nothing more that I want. I've had all the return that I need now. Whatever is going to be the fruit and the return in the future, that will also happen. But it'll happen in a very natural way. I won't have to think about it like today Baba said. Everything in terms of karma, of good and bad, is fixed in the drama, and so the outcome happens without God having to think about it and press a button and say, okay, now this one, it's God doesn't have time for all that. It's set on automatic machine. And so it'll just happen. But today, the return that I get if I've done it out of love is that I'm filled with God's love. How many of you have experienced that? You've done this much for Baba, and Baba's given you this much love. Many. Almost everyone, in fact. It's the first time all of you have put up your hands. Sometimes a few do, but this time everybody put up their hands, because it's a reality. So not just understanding the theory of karma, but really applying it with love and getting the return of that love come back to you. And so what are you filled with at the end of the day? It's just God's love. And so God's love then becomes the fuel that drives you forward. And you don't count, even in Lokik life, if there's somebody you're doing something for with love, do you count how long it took you to do that? Whether it's cooking their favorite meal, whether it's helping them when they're not well, you don't count the number of hours, you just do it, and you do it with love. And so for Baba the same, when, not just because good karma is important, but I'm doing it out of love for Baba. And Baba's giving me so much in return that I want to keep doing more. Human beings, even though you've done it out of love, may or may not give you the response that you want. Maybe they'll turn up their nose and say, well, I didn't ask you to do it, did I? And so sometimes, even expecting gratitude from people, a big lesson, don't expect it. Just don't expect it. But do something for Baba, even little, and Baba will give you the return hugely. And a very interesting thing about karma, if I've done something, the question is not what I've done, but the question is, how much effort did I put into doing something? A simple example. I come 5 minutes walk away from a center, and I come to Baba's house with that love, and here's somebody who takes 3 buses, and it's a real story. A woman who takes 3 buses to come to Baba's house. She can only manage it once a week, but it takes her an hour and a half to come. Now, the effort that she's put in and the effort that the other has put in, now who gets more love from Baba, who gets more happiness from Baba? It's clear, isn't it? And by the time she arrives at the center, you wouldn't say that, she's been waiting at the bus stop, waiting for the bus, cold and shine or rain, doesn't matter. And so she comes, and she looks so fresh, doesn't look tired, doesn't look exhausted. And of course, somebody without that motivation of love, and they already look tired, they already look exhausted. So you can see that truly the journey is from knowledge to the state of love. Karma and the whole subject of love and knowledge and love is very interesting, because here's something that I'm doing because I have to. Yeah? And the return I get from that, okay, I've put in this much energy and I'm going to get the return of that. But there's something that I'm doing not just because I have to, but because I want to. And I get a different return from that. The contentment, the satisfaction, the feeling that things are good. And when I do something out of love, I didn't need to, I didn't have to, but I just did it simply out of love. and the return of that, my heart really opens up. And so, the deeper the understanding of Gyan and Yoga, and the deeper my practice of both of these things, and what do I become at the end of the journey? The embodiment of love and the embodiment of happiness. So you can see how far you are or how close you are to that. You know, when Baba says, ask yourself, you don't have to ask Baba, Baba, what will I be? But Baba says, ask yourself, see yourself and see to what extent I've come to that point. How much further do I need to travel? So yes, knowledge absolutely the foundation for my life, but more and more deeply understanding that knowledge and more applying it in my life at all times. You know, when Baba says, keep the third eye open, that's what it means. Let me look at something from the perspective of Gyan, not from Lokik perspective. Lokik perspective will be very different to Baba's perspective in everything, just everything. The way I behave with my relatives and family, what I'm willing to do, what I'm not willing to do, the whole subject of purity, how the world sees it and how Baba's explained it to me and given me that experience. So just everything, am I looking at it with the third eye? And if I'm looking at things with the third eye, then that's going to be the way in which, yes, I can see how to move things forward for the future. So, if I'm looking at things from, and when Baba says third eye, what does that mean? Remembering Baba's Murli. What did Baba say about this situation? What is Baba teaching me about this situation? So that's keeping the third eye open, so that then I understand and I know what it is I need to do. And where, one last thing before I open up for questions, it's so easy to mix what Baba is saying with what my mind is saying and think that, well, Baba said this. You know, when you have Chinese whispers, somebody says something and 5 people will have understood it differently. Definitely. Anything that's been said, at least 5 different interpretations of that. That would be quite normal. And so which is it that's right? And so when I hear Baba's Murli, have I understood what Baba is saying? Which is why Baba talks about the purity of the vessel. If the intellect is clean, and I'm beginning with that faith that these are God's versions, then as I hear God's versions, I'm absorbing them, I'm understanding them, and I'm keeping them. Because they're precious, I don't want to let go of those jewels. And then, as I reflect on them, am I turning it around to suit my convenience? Am I adjusting it so that then it fits within my own comfort zone? Or am I really saying that this is what Baba means? And whatever it is I'm doing, I need to adjust that and change that according to what Baba is saying. Or am I adjusting Baba's Gyan to suit my convenience? Does it happen? You might have seen it happen, but maybe you also need to check yourself to see if that's what you're doing. easy to spot it in others, that Baba said this, but the way they're interpreting it is crazy. It's not what Baba meant at all. So I can spot it for another, but can I spot it for myself when I'm doing that? And if I can spot it for myself, then I'll make sure that my understanding of Gyan stays true and clear and clean. Then it's going to become love. But also the influence of others. And we get influenced very quickly. We don't realize it. Our language changes, our thoughts change, our ideas change. And so, can I be very careful that it's not other people's interpretation of Gyan that I'm taking on board. But no, what Baba has said, how Baba has said it, let me understand it and follow it through in my life in that particular way. So, I think we've got traffic control coming at some point soon. All the clocks are different, but it's okay. But also, we have 15 minutes, and if you have any questions, then we can take up those questions within that time. So let's start with the questions, because I'm sure we'll hear the traffic control reaching here. Okay.
शिव पिता को अब याद करो, मुक्ति धाम तुम्हें जाना है। अपने सुकर्मों के बल पर ही सतयुग में तुमको आना है। शिव पिता को अब याद करो। स्वर्णिम युग है, शिव पिता फिर से आया है। ब्रह्मामुख से शिव बाबा ने वही गीता ज्ञान सुनाया है। कलयुग का अंत अब आया है, विकराल विनाश खड़ा आगे। शिव शक्ति सेना की रणभेरी अब फिर बजती है। शिव बाबा के ज्ञान से फिर माया को मार भगाना है। शिव पिता को अब याद करो, सतयुग में तुमको शिव पिता को अब याद करो, मुक्ति धाम तुम्हें जाना है। अपने सुकर्मों के बल पर ही सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है। धाम में तुम्हें सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है। धाम में तुम्हें जाना है।
Om Shanti. So this process of knowledge sitting in the intellect, you said that the vessel has to be clean. Do I do it my own self? Because if I read the Murli, there are so many, questions that Baba make me realize. I realize it, but somehow it slips. So I keep reading. So is this a technical process that I need to pay attention to, or it's just I just keep pouring, and it'll clean automatically in terms of my vessel?
I think the process of churning is a little bit different to just simply repeating the same point, going round and round in my head, in the sense that maybe I've noted down 5 things from today's Murli. For example, the tower that Baba spoke about, the tower of silence, the tower of peace. Baba was talking about that. So it's a lovely image. And if I just keep thinking about tower, I don't get very far. But can I think about the tower? What does it mean? Why is Baba using this image? And what is the foundation of a tower? And I start exploring it in that way, just looking around to see what are the signals that Baba's giving me for effort there. So going into the depth of it, and then actually beginning to feel, what would it feel like to be in Paramdham with just silence and that space in which that idea of tall and strong and unshakable, the point where nothing can disturb the tower. Everything else is going on, but the tower is up above, not disturbed by anything. So experiment with it, experience it, and then, yes, it'll be something that's carrying you further on your journey. And you'll be able to tap into it from time to time. When you're feeling, what's going on? I don't understand. There's so many things happening. Okay, come back, go inside. What is that experience of the tower? Can I recapture that and re-experience it for myself, revise that experience? So anything that Baba has said, just interpret it in that way. Yeah?
Thank you. Anybody has any more questions on knowledge to love? Or everybody is already full of love?
Om Shanti. Thank you for the clarity. I have one, could you please explain a little bit about the question you had asked us to ask, is how much effort have I to put in doing something? Was it like that? Do I have to ask myself about the effort that I'm putting in, or I should not be putting in too much effort? Because the example you gave is about 5 minutes walking versus 1 hour. But what about if somebody is walking 5 minutes every day, every single day, 7 days, 365 days, So I'm not sure if I understood that concept clearly. So if you could bring little clarity to that. Thank you.
I think maybe the 5 minutes every day would equal up with the other one, which is 90 minutes once a week. So yes, I understand what you're saying. Baba's always said nothing should be labor for us at this point. But yes, say for example, writing is a gift that I have, and it comes very automatically, and I use that for my self-progress, but also for service. But maybe writing isn't a gift. Maybe writing is hard work, it's effort. It's not labor in that sense of a struggle, but I have to discipline myself. I have to sit down, and I have to say, okay, now let me begin. And see what comes out and how it flows, and let me churn alongside as I'm writing. So that would be effort. And so Baba's seeing the effort that you've put into doing that, and that's going to give you different type of satisfaction than somebody for whom it's anyway effortless and it's easy. And so see, what is it that can help me move forward and bring me closer to Baba? And so that sort of effort, cooking, it comes naturally and easily to some, and not so naturally to others. But if I'm going to be alone somewhere sometime, am I just going to eat the food raw because I don't know how to cook? Or am I going to make a little bit of a mess and say, well, it's only me that's got to eat it anyway? Or am I going to think, well, let me learn how to cook properly? And it's not a long job, making complicated things, but just a few basic things. And so can I learn? And Baba sees I'm putting in that effort because of my love, that I want to do something which is right and which is nice for Baba. And I'm going to eat it anyway. But the fact that I'm doing it for Baba is the extra effort that I've made to make it in the proper way, to make it nicely, to make it attractive, and so on and so on. So in anything, Murli, I can come to Murli because I'm supposed to, I have to, anyway I want to, it's okay. But coming to Murli with that inner intoxication, I'm going to study with God. And it's the only opportunity to study with God now in Sangam Yug, never again. And so again, it's effort, but it's the effort I'm making with love. And of course then the have to and should do and all of that, the attitude with which I'm coming is very different to the joy and the love with which I'm coming and the benefit I'm going to take from it. So effort in that sense, input and output.
So the question is, Baba usually says, there is Maya in yoga in remembrance. Maya break the connection. So according to you, is there Maya in knowledge? And if yes, what is that?
Maya comes in everything. And so when I think, oh, I'm a good yogi, that's it. That's Maya entering into yoga. Or when it's Gyan, my understanding is this, and this is the right way to understand. Now, who's speaking at that time is not an enlightened soul, it's Maya saying that. Because any subject, you can approach it from many different angles, like Baba does. One day Baba's talking about detachment, and the next day Baba's talking about love. And so not that one is right and the other is wrong, both are right. But in what way must I be detached? In what way must I be loving? And so let me make sure that my understanding of Gyan is how Baba explains it, rather than my cleverness. And I think that I know things better than the next person or the next person. So that would then be Maya coming in when there's Gyan. Yeah. Paul at the back, he had his hand up.
Shanti Didi, volcanic yoga, could you define it for us, please? I know you've been through it before, but would you mind going through it again, please?
For me, volcanic yoga is that stage where the yoga is not just quiet and soft, which is lovely, but it's actually very, very powerful, and it feels like it's a fire, which is a cleansing fire. And so just as when the volcano explodes, everything that was inside comes outside. Just taking that image, whatever was the alloy that was within the soul, I can feel that all of that is just coming out and is being finished, and the original pure gold, the pure soul, is what remains. So the feeling is of intense love.
Anybody?
There's...
Om Shanti. Didi, towards the end of the class, you said that it's very easy for the mixture in between what Baba is saying and what is coming from my own mind regarding any situation. So what is the way, or is there any sign that I can know that this is not coming from Baba and it's coming from my own mind? How do I understand that?
If my understanding of Gyan is clear to me, and it's in the way that Baba has explained it, then it's right. And if Baba, I'm not getting that validation from Baba's Murli, I'm looking at it a little bit differently, then that's the signal that I'm moving off in another track. Baba explains things very simply, very clearly, but I'm twisting it a little bit. I'm making it more complicated than even it is. And so next day I read the Murli and I'll see what Baba is saying. And it's very simple and it's very clear. So it brings me back on track.
Okay, so there are more questions. If I have to teach knowledge to a new one, so out of the 4 lessons, lesson about the soul, about Supreme Soul, about drama, and about the cycle, do you think what is the most difficult lesson I have to teach them, I have to introduce to them? That is the question, yeah. And the second question...
No, sorry, I didn't understand the first question.
So she want to ask, like, if I have to teach a knowledge to a new one, okay, we have 4 lessons. Lesson about the soul, lesson about the Supreme Soul, about the drama, about the cycle. So, according to your own experience, what lesson do you find that the most difficult to introduce to a new one? Okay, that is the first one. And the second question, like in Murli Baba talk about renounce all the bodily religions. So what is the accurate understanding of bodily religions?
Okay, this is the last question. So the first aspect, which is the subject that I find most difficult. In fact, I used to find this subject of drama very difficult to explain to people, because the cycle, the repetition, 5,000 years, all of those can be quite big traps. And then I gradually realized that 5,000 is not such an important factor. 8,000, 10,000, whatever it is, 4,000. But the more important thing is that they understand what time it is in the cycle, that we are moving from dark to light, that the most important period of the whole cycle is the confluence age. So when that became very clear to me, then I stopped emphasizing the dates, but also I stopped even emphasizing the repetition, because my own personal experience was that I could only relate to the idea of the repetition of the cycle when I had the experience of eternity. Just I, the soul, nothing else, and within the soul, I'm eternal, and every part of me, whatever is the recording that is there within the soul, is eternal. And this is why the drama is fixed. My part is fixed, it's eternal, and so the drama is also fixed and eternal. Then it became, because I simplified it through my own experience, then it was easy to explain. And the second question, bodily religions. One is the whole question of, yes, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Hindu. So to get away from that, my religion is peace. The Gita puts it very beautifully that the swadharma of the self, the original religion of the self, is peace. So let me get away from all these other things. But also the fact that I've grown up in a man's body, or I've grown up in a female body, That is bodily religion. Instead of thinking of myself as just simply the soul playing a role, I'm stuck within the gender. I am a man or I am a woman, so I have to do things like this and somebody else is doing things a different way. So that's the next step to deal with. This is why Baba says, think of yourself, all of you are Pandavas, powerful individuals, soldiers, brave. But also Baba says, remember your brides. And so Baba's not just speaking to this part of the room, Baba's speaking to all parts of the room and saying, you are brides, there's only one bridegroom. And so Baba gives us different methods to let go of bodily religions in that way. Another factor is food. And that's a big religion. But am I used to eating a particular type of food and I find it difficult to adjust to eating another type of food? And so part of bodily religion, language, culture, all of these things are very much connected with this. So the more soul consciousness I practice, the easier it is to let go of all facets of bodily religions. Okay? Good. Okay, let's have a few minutes powerful yoga, and then there's other things. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much, Sister Jayanti, for bringing atmosphere. And it's like Bab Dada is here in the meditation hall, and I can feel that we will meet him in a very lovely way on the 2nd of Feb. And before we move on to the 25 plus who are coming in the front, I have a short question. Can those who are youth, that is physically between 18 and 35, put their hands up? Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And another thing, if you have questions for Sudesh Didi tonight, the questions and answer, please